My Aunt Sunita gave me a DNA testing kit at my 30th birthday party. She presented it in front of 35 people with a smile that was not a smile and said, "I thought it would be fun to finally find out where you really come from since you've always seemed so different from the rest of us." And everyone in the room understood exactly what she meant. And I understood it too. And I took the kit and I smiled and I said thank you. 6 weeks later, the results came back. And they did not say what Sunita had intended them to say. They said something else entirely. Something that turned the table she had set so carefully completely upside down. I sat with the results on my laptop screen for a long time, not because I needed time to understand them, the results were clear, because I needed time to understand what the results meant for every person in the room who had watched my aunt hand me that kit with that smile. Because the thing the DNA test had found was not about me. It was about her. Part 1: The Family and the Difference. My name is Rehan Kapoor, and I want to tell you about the family I grew up in with the precision that the story requires. I grew up in Delhi in a family that had a specific self-image, the Kapoors of South Delhi, which is a particular kind of designation that carries within it an entire architecture of expectation. My grandfather had built a business that my father had expanded, and the family had organized itself around that business and around the image of what a Kapoor was supposed to be: successful, traditional, recognizable. The kind of family that knew who it was and communicated that knowledge at every available opportunity. I had, from the time I was a child, been the one who did not fit the image. Not dramatically, I had done the right things, the education and the career and the surface behaviors that the family required. But there was always something that didn't quite match. A quality of being different that people in the family noticed and that my Aunt Sunita had over the years taken it upon herself to observe aloud. She was my father's younger sister, a woman who had organized her entire identity around being the most Kapoor person in the room, and I was, to her, an ongoing irritant, the evidence that the family was not as uniform as its image required. She had made comments over the years, small ones calibrated to sting without being directly accusable. "You're so different from your cousins, you've always been the unusual one, Rehan," the specific language of someone who is implying something they won't say directly. The DNA kit at the birthday party had been the most direct version of the implication. She had wrapped it in the language of fun and curiosity, but everyone in the room had heard what was underneath it. The suggestion that I was different because I was not entirely who I thought I was. The suggestion, wrapped in a birthday gift box, that my origins might not be what my parents had told me. I had taken the kit and smiled and said thank you. Because I had understood in that moment that the only response to a trap is to walk through it correctly. And I had been right. The results had come back on a Tuesday morning. I had taken the test carefully, followed the instructions, sent it off in the prepaid envelope with the specific feeling of someone who has decided to look at a thing directly rather than around it. I had told no one I had done it, not even my closest friends. This was between me and the test and whatever the test found. What the test found was this: my ancestry was exactly what I had always understood it to be, Punjabi, with the specific regional markers that matched what my parents had always told me about our family. There was no surprise in my results, no secret, no evidence of the things Sunita had implied. But the DNA testing platform did something else as well. It matched you to relatives who had also taken the test. And among my matches, distant cousins, a few second cousins, the ordinary accumulation of a large extended family, there was a match that I had not expected. A half-sibling match. Not mine. The match was attached to a profile that, when I looked at it carefully and cross-referenced the family data, pointed to something very specific. The half-sibling was connected to Sunita's husband. My aunt's husband, Vikram, had a child with someone who was not my aunt. A child who had also taken a DNA test. A child who existed in the database as evidence of something that Sunita had not known when she handed me the birthday gift box with that smile. The person who had given me the DNA test to reveal my secrets had revealed her own. I closed my laptop. I sat very still. I thought about what to do with this information for a long time. Part 2: What I decided. I want to tell you about what I decided because the decision is the character. The simple version, the version that the word revenge would imply, was to bring this information into the family in the most visible possible way. Return the favor, turn the birthday party moment into a public reckoning. Use what the test had found the way she had intended the test to find something about me. I did not do this. Not because I was not angry, I was. Not because it wouldn't have been satisfying in a specific way, it might have been. But because I had spent 30 years watching what happened in this family when information was weaponized, and I had understood, sitting with my laptop closed, that the weapon was not the point. The point was to stop being the person in the room that Sunita could aim things at. The point was not to become her. I made one phone call to a family lawyer I trusted, not a family member, a professional. I asked him a specific question. If someone has information about a family matter that is relevant to certain people but not public knowledge, what are the ethical obligations around that information? He gave me a careful answer that confirmed what I had already understood. The information was relevant to specific people, to Sunita, to her husband, to the child in the database who had a father they may not know. It was not mine to deploy as a weapon, but it was also not mine to suppress indefinitely. I decided to hold it, to know what I knew, and to stop pretending that the dynamic in this family, the one where I was the target of implications and suggestions, was one I was going to continue participating in. The DNA test had not found what Sunita wanted it to find. It had found what it found. And I was going to let that sit quietly with me for now. And I was going to stop being small. Part 3. I need to tell you about Aryan before the story continues, because Aryan is the story. Aryan Bose had been my closest friend for 4 years. We had met at 30 and 29 respectively. I had been 26 when we met. He had been 25 through a professional context that I will describe. I was working as a brand strategist for a mid-size agency in Delhi, and he had come in as a photographer for a campaign we were running. He was freelance, had been building his photography career for 3 years at that point, and had the specific quality of people who are doing exactly the right thing and know it, the ease of someone whose work and identity are the same thing. We had been thrown into a 3-day shoot together and had discovered over those 3 days that we thought about things in very similar ways. We had talked through the shots, through the creative decisions, through the brief and what it was actually asking for and what it should be asking for. The conversation had gone past the professional quickly, the way it does when two people are using the work to talk about something larger. At the end of the 3-day shoot, he had said, "We should have lunch sometime." I had said, yes. 4 years later, he was the person I called when things happened that mattered. He was the person who came to birthday parties and sat at my table and noticed when my aunt handed me the DNA kit with that smile. He was the person who had, on the drive home from the birthday party, said, "What was that about?" I had told him not all of it, not the long version with all the history, the short version that covered the essential facts. He had listened and he had said, "Are you going to take it?" I had said yes. He had said, "Let me know what it says." He was the only person I had told about sending it in, and he was the first person I told about the results. I called him the Tuesday morning after the results came back. He picked up on the second ring. He was between shoots, he said, finishing the morning coffee. I told him I had the results. He said, "Come over." I went over. He lived in a flat in Lajpat Nagar that was organized around the photography, prints on the walls, equipment in the corner, the particular density of a space that was also a working studio. He had made more coffee and we sat at the kitchen table in the way we always sat, across from each other, the full version of the conversation available to both of us. I opened my laptop, I showed him the results. He looked at them, he understood them quickly. Aryan was someone who understood things quickly. He looked at the half-sibling match and the data trail that led to Vikram and he was quiet for a moment. "She gave you the test to find something on you," he said. "Yes," I said. "And the test found something on her husband," he said. "Yes," I said. He sat with this. "What are you going to do?" he said. "I've been thinking about that," I said. "I don't think I'm going to do anything with it, not yet, not as a weapon." He looked at me with the expression he had when he thought I had done something right and wanted to confirm he was reading it correctly. "You're going to hold it," he said. "I'm going to know what I know," I said. "And I'm going to stop being the person in that family who accepts the suggestion that I'm less than I am. I'm going to stop accepting the dynamic." He was quiet for a moment. "The dynamic," he said. "You've watched it for 4 years," I said. The comments, the implications, the birthday party, I've been making myself smaller to fit into a space that was never the right size anyway. Yes, he said. He had said this before gently, without pushing. He had watched me manage down in family contexts for 4 years and had said so once directly and had not said it again because he had understood I would get there in my own time. I got there, I said. He almost smiled. I know, he said, I can see you got there. We sat at the kitchen table in the Lajpat Nagar flat in the morning light and I felt, for the first time since the birthday party, like the window had been cleaned. Like the thing I had been looking through had been removed. Aryan, I said. Yes, he said. Thank you for the last 4 years, I said, for being the room where I was always the real version. He looked at me. Always, he said, quietly, in the specific tone he used for things he meant completely. I looked at him across the kitchen table in the morning light and noticed something I had been filing for 4 years and that I was, in this particular morning after this particular week, running out of room to keep filed. Part 4: The Family Aftermath. The family processed the birthday party DNA kit in the way my family processed everything, through the telegraph. Within 2 weeks, various cousins had texted me asking about the results. My mother had called and asked with a careful neutrality that told me she had been thinking about it. My father had not said anything, which was his way of saying he was thinking about it. Sunita had called once the week after the birthday party to ask if I had sent the kit in. I had said yes. She had asked when the results would come back. I had said a few weeks. She had said let me know, with the specific expectation of someone who has set something in motion and is waiting for it to arrive. I had not let her know. 3 weeks after the results came back, she called again. The results, she said, you got them. Yes, I said. And she said. And they confirmed exactly what I already knew, I said. My ancestry is what it's always been, nothing surprising. A pause. Nothing, she said. Nothing unexpected, I said. Another pause, longer, the specific pause of someone whose plan has not produced the expected result. Well, she said, that's good then. Yes, I said, it is. She said something about the party, something social and smooth, and we ended the call. I put my phone down. I knew what I knew. She didn't know what I knew. And for now, that was exactly where things needed to be. The change in me was not dramatic. It was the specific change of someone who has stopped performing a smaller version of themselves, gradual, internal, expressing itself in small decisions rather than announcements. I stopped calibrating what I said at family gatherings to fit the space Sunita's dynamic had created. I stopped accepting the implications with silence. When something was said that required a response, I responded, not with attack, with the simple, honest refusal to agree that the implication was accurate. My cousin Pratik noticed first. He was younger than me, 26, and had always been quietly observant of the family dynamics without participating in them. He texted me after a family dinner where I had said something direct and clear in response to one of Sunita's calibrated comments. He said, whatever happened, keep doing it. I texted back, I will. Part 5: The Shoot. 4 months after the birthday party, I was assigned to a campaign that required 2 weeks of photography in Rajasthan. The campaign was for a heritage brand, old, rooted, the kind of visual storytelling that required a specific quality of attention to landscape and history. The agency had brought Aryan in for it. Of course they had, he was the best choice and we had worked well together before. 2 weeks in Rajasthan with Aryan. The specific geography of a desert landscape, old forts, the particular quality of Rajasthani light at different times of day that changes everything it touches. I want to tell you about those 2 weeks because they were where something shifted. Not through any single moment, through the accumulation of 2 weeks of working alongside someone in a context that was entirely different from the Delhi context. Rajasthan took the professional framing and made it smaller, the landscape and the light and the work demanding a different quality of presence. We were up before dawn for the light. We stayed in old Havelis that had been converted to guest houses, the kind of places that have the specific gravity of history in their walls. We ate at small local places and drove through villages and had the conversations that you have when you are far from your normal context, and the normal context's requirements fall away. He was extraordinary at his work. I had always known this, 4 years of watching him work had told me, But watching him work in this specific context, the way he looked at the light, the patience he had with the landscape, the specific decisions he made about angle and timing and what the frame needed to include and what it needed to leave out was different from the deli context. This was him in his most natural element. I watched him work with the attention I usually reserved for things I was building, and I understood at some point in the first week that I had been filing something for 4 years that was no longer going to stay filed. On the fourth day, we were at a fort outside Jodhpur, shooting the interior courtyards in the late afternoon light that turned the blue walls a specific warm color. The shoot had been going well. Aryan had been absorbed in the light for 2 hours, moving through the courtyards with the focused attention of someone in the middle of something real. I had been watching the light change and thinking about the creative direction and also, if I am honest, watching him. He came and stood beside me at one point. We were both looking at the same courtyard wall, the way the shadow was moving across it as the sun dropped. 5 minutes, he said. The light changes in 5 minutes and the wall becomes something else. I know, I said. We stood side by side watching the light move on the blue stone. 5 minutes later, the shadow reached the carved detail at the top of the wall and the wall became, exactly as he had said, something else. He raised the camera and took the shot. Then he lowered it and looked at me. That's the one, he said. Yes, I said. We were standing very close, the closeness of two people who have been working in a shared space for 4 days and have stopped managing their physical proximity. His shoulder was almost touching mine. The late afternoon light was on both of us. Rehen, he said. Yes, I said. Nothing, he said, then, good direction today. Good shooting, I said. We stood for another moment in the blue courtyard with the changed light around us, and then went back to the work. But something had shifted. I had felt it in the 5 minutes of standing beside him watching the light move, the specific quality of standing beside someone and not wanting to be anywhere else. I filed it, carefully, with the specific discipline of someone who understood that the professional context was real and that the 4 years of friendship were real and that acting on something without being certain was not what this deserved. But the file was getting full. Part 6, the second week. The second week in Rajasthan was the week where the conversation went all the way down. This happens on location work. The days are long and the evenings are the decompression from the days, and when you're far from your usual context with one other person, the conversations have space to go places they don't go in normal life. We had dinner every evening in the guest houses or at the local places, and we talked through the work and passed the work in the way that had always been available to us, and that was, out here in the desert light, more fully available than usual. We talked about the birthday party. I told him the full version, not just the DNA kit and the results, but the full history, the 20 years of Sunita's comments and implications, the specific dynamic that had made me smaller than I was for years. He listened with the attention he gave to things that mattered. You've been carrying that for a long time, he said. 20 years, I said. In the family context, he said, but also in other contexts, I've watched you manage down in rooms that didn't require it. I know, I said. You've stopped, he said. In the last few months I've noticed. I got there, I said. What got you there, he said. The test results, I said, specifically what I found in the test results. He looked at me. You found something beyond your own results, he said. It was not a question, he had been thinking about it since the Tuesday morning in his kitchen, I could see that. Yes, I said. Are you going to tell me, he said. I looked at the courtyard of the old Haveli where we were staying. The night sky above the desert was the specific sky of a place with no city light, deep and full and very real. Not yet, I said. I haven't decided what to do with it. Telling you makes it larger. Okay, he said, without pushing. This was one of the things about Aryan. He received the boundary and honored it without making you feel the boundary was a rejection. I'll tell you when I decide, I said. I know, he said. We sat in the desert courtyard under the specific stars of a place with no city light and talked about other things, and the thing I had not told him sat between us like something real that had been acknowledged even without being named. On the last evening in Rajasthan, we had dinner at a rooftop restaurant in Jodhpur, the old city below us, the fort lit above us, the specific magic of a place that has been beautiful for 800 years and knows it. We had finished the work that day. The campaign was done 2 weeks of extraordinary images that I knew, looking through them on Arian's laptop, were the best work we had done together and some of the best work either of us had done. "This is good work," I said. "It's the best I've done," he said, directly, without false modesty or performance. "I know," I said. He looked at me across the table. "The direction was right," he said. "Having a creative partner who understood what the images needed, it makes the work different." 4 years, I said. 4 years, he said. We looked at each other across the rooftop table, the city below us, the fort above us, the desert night around us. 4 years of friendship that had been, I was clear about this now, something more than friendship for most of that time, something I had filed and that had been filing back at me. "Arian," I said. "Yes," he said. "I've been filing something," I said. He was very still. "I know," he said. "You know," I said. "I've been filing the same thing," he said. The rooftop was warm and the city was beautiful below it, and we were two people who had just spent 2 weeks in the most beautiful light in India and were now, on the last evening, done filing. "The professional context is real," I said. "Yes," he said. "The 4 years of friendship are real," I said. "Yes," he said. "And I'm not going to manage either of those things by pretending the other thing isn't real," I said. He looked at me. "What is the other thing?" he said, not because he didn't know, because he wanted it said. "You are the room where I have always been the real version," I said. "For 4 years, every version of the real me, the one before I stopped managing down and the one after. You have been consistently present for it, and I have been consistently filing what that means." He was quiet for a moment. "I've been filing the same thing in the opposite direction," he said. "The room where you are always present and real is the room where I want to be. That's been true for 4 years." "Why didn't you say anything?" I said. "The same reason," he said. "The professional context was real, the friendship was real. I didn't want to cost something I wasn't willing to cost." "And now," I said. He looked at me with the expression I had been studying for 4 years, the specific attention of someone who sees what they are looking at completely. "The shoot is done," he said. "The campaign is finished. The professional context is still real," I said. "We'll still work together." "I know," he said. "I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying I'm not using it as a reason tonight." I looked at him across the Jodhpur rooftop. "Neither am I," said. "The city was below us and the fort was above us and the desert night was around us, and neither of us was filing anything anymore." Part 7: The Distance. Here is the part that was not clean. We came back to Delhi from Rajasthan, and Delhi was Delhi. The professional context and the normal life and the family context, all of it resuming with the specific force of things that have momentum. The rooftop conversation had happened and had been real and had been not named fully, not acted on. We had said what we had said and had come home, and the home context had produced a careful distance. Not intentional on either side, or not entirely. We were both, I think, navigating the same thing from the same direction, the specific caution of two people who have said something real and are now figuring out what to do with what they said. We texted, we were warm. We met once for coffee in the second week back. That was warm and easy and also slightly managed in a way that was different from the Rajasthan evenings. The campaign had been delivered and approved. The professional outcome had been exactly right. The agency was pleased. Arian had been paid and there was talk of the next project. The personal thing was in the specific state of something that has been said but not yet decided. I was also in this period dealing with the family thing which had developed. Sunita's husband Vikram had called me. This had not been expected. He called on a Thursday evening and said he needed to speak with me. His voice had the quality of someone who has been building toward a phone call for a long time and has finally made it. I had said, "Okay," he had said privately. I had said, "Okay." He had come to my apartment. He had sat across from me and he had said, "I know about the DNA test results, not my results, the other thing in the results." I had looked at him. "The child in the database," he said. "Yes," I said. He was quiet for a moment. "I wasn't certain she existed until the match came back," he said. "Her mother and I, it was before I married Sunita. She didn't tell me, she moved away. I found out 6 months ago through a different channel that there might be." He stopped. "I've been trying to figure out what to do." I sat with this. Does Sunita know? I said. Not yet, he said. How did you know I had the results? I said. I have the same testing service, he said. When a new match appears in the family network, the platform notifies you. Your profile appeared in the notification. I absorbed this. Rihen, he said, I need your help understanding what to do. I looked at Vikram, my aunt's husband, a man I had known since I was a child, a man who was sitting in my apartment carrying something that had been building for 6 months and who had come to me because the DNA test had connected us in a way neither of us had anticipated. This is yours to manage, I said, not mine. I'm not going to do anything with what I found, but I'm also not going to help you hide it indefinitely. He nodded. I'm not asking you to hide it, he said. I'm asking you to give me time to do it correctly. Time for what? I said. Time to tell her myself, he said, before she finds out another way. I looked at him. How much time? I said. A month, he said. I sat with it. 1 month, I said, and then I'm no longer holding this. 1 month, he said. He left. I sat in my apartment for a long time. Then I called Aryan. Part 8, what I told him. He picked up and said come over, and I went over. I sat at his kitchen table, the same table as the Tuesday morning 4 months ago, and I told him everything. The half-sibling match, Vikram's call, the agreement. He listened to all of it. When I finished, he said, she gave you the test to find something on you. Yes, I said. And the test found something on her husband. He said. Yes, I said. And now her husband is asking you to hold it for a month while he figures out how to tell her, he said. Yes, I said. He was quiet for a moment. How do you feel about that? He said. Strange, I said, like I'm holding something that should have landed somewhere else. The trap she set, he said. Caught the wrong person, I said. Or the right person, he said carefully. I looked at him. What do you mean? I said. She handed you the test, he said, with the intention of weaponizing the results, and instead the results gave you something that, if you use it correctly, is not a weapon. It's a truth that needed to come out, and that is going to come out through the right people in the right order because you chose not to use it the way she intended. I sat with that. I'm not the one who gets to deliver this truth, I said. No, he said, that's exactly the point. I looked at him across the kitchen table. Aryan, I said. Yes, he said. In Rajasthan, I said. He looked at me. The careful distance of the previous 2 weeks was still there, but thin now, thin in the way of things that have been maintained past their usefulness. Yes, he said. I'm done being careful about it, I said, not because the professional context doesn't matter and not because the 4 years don't have a shape that deserves respect, but because being careful about it is now the thing that is costing more than saying it. Say it then, he said. I want to be with you, I said. Not managed, not filed, not professional with the other thing maintained at a careful distance. I want the whole version of this, whatever it looks like, worked through honestly with both of us paying attention to what it requires. He was looking at me with that expression, fully present, the filing completely gone. I've wanted that for 4 years, he said, since the 3-day shoot when I said we should have lunch sometime and I meant something much larger than lunch. I know, I said, I think I knew then too. We were both careful, he said. We were, I said, and the care was right for a while and now it's not. He came around the table, not dramatically, just the straightforward movement of someone removing the last managed distance. The professional context, he said. We've always worked well, I said, that doesn't change. No, he said, it doesn't. We stood in his kitchen in the Lajpat Nagar flat in the specific afternoon light, and neither of us was filing anything and neither of us was being careful about the wrong things anymore. Part 9, the month. The month Vikram had asked for was the month where everything shifted. Not because of Vikram and Sunita, that was their story to work through, and it worked through in the way of difficult truths delivered honestly, which is to say, painfully, slowly, and without clean resolution. Vikram told Sunita in the 3rd week. The family telegraph activated. The next 2 weeks were the specific difficult period of a family processing information it had not anticipated. I was not at the center of this. I had held what I had been asked to hold and had released it when the time came and the information had moved through the family in its own way. What I was at the center of was something else. Arian and I had stopped filing. The month was the month of learning what that meant in the ordinary context, not the rooftop in Jodhpur, not the Haveli courtyard, but Delhi. The coffee place we had been going to for 4 years, now with the different quality of two people who have stopped managing a distance. The evenings in his flat going through his prints, now with the different quality of two people who are not performing anything. The work we had been brought in together for a new project, a smaller one, and the working together had the quality of something that had always been in it but that was now not being managed. My friend Deepak, an old friend from university who had known me for 8 years, said, the third time he saw us together in this month, finally. What? I said. 4 years, he said, finally. I looked at him. Was it that obvious? I said. To everyone except you two, he said. I thought about 4 years of filing, of both of us filing, of the professional context and the 4 years of friendship that had been, according to Deepak and apparently anyone who had been paying attention, visibly more than either of us had been willing to name. We were careful, I said. You were, he said, it was still obvious. I almost laughed. Good obvious or bad obvious, I said. The best obvious, he said, the kind that makes people root for you. Part 10 Sunita. I want to tell you about Sunita because the story is not complete without the full picture. She called me 3 weeks after Vikram had told her. I had been expecting the call not with dread, just with the understanding that it was coming and that it deserved to be answered. She called and said my name and I said her name and there was a long pause. I owe you an apology, she said. This was not what I had expected her to say first. The birthday party, she said, the DNA kit, I gave it to you too. I wanted to find something, I was unkind and I was wrong. I sat with this. Why? I said, not angrily, I genuinely wanted to understand. Because you've always been the one who didn't need me, she said, to approve of you or include you or validate you, you were always just sufficient, in yourself, and I found that, she stopped. Threatening, I said. Irritating, she said, which is the same thing, I understand now. I looked at the window of my apartment. You don't need my approval, I said, you never did, I don't have any power over what you are. I know, she said, I know that now. The test found what it found, I said, I did not say what it had found, we both knew what it had found. Yes, she said. I didn't do anything with it, I said. Vikram asked for time and I gave him time and then it was his to manage. I know, she said, he told me that you gave him a month, a pause, you could have used it differently. I know, I said. Why didn't you, she said. I thought about the answer. Because I'm not you, I said, not unkindly, just accurately. A long silence. No, she said, you're not. I'd like to have a real relationship with you, I said, not the one we've had if you're willing to try. She was quiet for a moment. I don't know how to do that yet, she said. Neither do I said, but I'm willing to figure it out if you are. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I said. We hung up and I sat in my apartment and understood that this was the beginning of something that would take time and that I was willing to give it the time it needed. Part 11, the real version. 6 months after the birthday party. I want to tell you what my life looked like because the looking at it is the point. The campaign from Rajasthan had been released and had done well. It had won an industry award, which was not the point but was also not nothing. Arian and I had been brought in for 2 more projects on the basis of it. Working together in the Delhi context with the new quality of 2 people who had stopped filing was different from before and also entirely familiar. The work was the same, the rhythm was the same, the professional ease we had always had was intact. What was different was the absence of the managed distance. The thing that had cost energy to maintain was no longer costing anything because it was no longer being maintained. My family was in a period of adjustment. Vikram and Sunita were working through something that was painful and private and not mine to involve myself in. The extended family was processing. The telegraph was running. I was not at the center of any of it. I was at the center of my own life. That sounds simple, and it is not simple at all. I had a conversation with my father the month after Sunita's call. Not a planned conversation, we had been having dinner, just the 2 of us, which we had been doing more regularly since the birthday party and its aftermath. We had been talking about other things and the conversation had arrived, naturally, at the real thing. My father said, you seem different. I am different, I said. The birthday party, he said. Before that, I said, but the birthday party accelerated something. He looked at his food. Sunita, he said. Yes, I said. I should have said something to her, he said. Years ago, the comments, I heard them and I said nothing. I know, I said. I'm sorry for that, he said. I looked at my father, a man who was not given to apology and who was making one, genuinely, which was its own kind of evidence of change. I know you are, I said. The person, he said, he was circling something. Aryan, I said. Yes, he said. He has been my closest friend for 4 years, I said. He is now something more. I'm not going to manage that down in any context. My father was quiet for a moment. Okay, he said, the same word my mother had used on the phone with me. The first word, the honest word, when someone is working through something and is choosing not to hide the working. I'll introduce you properly, I said, when you're ready. Yes, he said, I'd like that. Part 12, what the DNA test found. 8 months after the birthday party. My Aunt Sunita gave me a DNA testing kit to mock me. She wrapped it in birthday paper and presented it in front of 35 people and smiled with the smile that was not a smile and implied what she intended to imply. The test found exactly what I already knew about myself. And it found something else. And I held the something else for a month while the right person found the right way to handle it. And then it was no longer mine to hold, and the family rearranged itself around the truth the way families do, painfully, slowly, with the specific difficulty of things that should have been said a long time ago. The trap she set caught the wrong person, or the right person, or as Aryan had said on a Thursday afternoon in a Lajpat Nagar kitchen, the right person in the wrong direction, which turned out to mean the truth landed where it needed to land. I am the real version now, in every room. Not performing anything in the family context, not managing down for Sunita's comfort or for anyone else's, not filing the thing I have been filing for 4 years. The filing is done. The work is the best it has been. My father wants to be introduced properly. And Aryan is here on a Tuesday afternoon in the Lajpat Nagar flat going through the prints from the Jodhpur shoot, saying this is the one when the shadow reached the carved detail and the wall became something else. He was right. That was the one. Clapperboard final hook. She gave me a DNA test at my 30th birthday party in front of 35 people. She smiled the smile that was not a smile and said, let's find out where you really come from. The test found exactly what I already knew. And then it found something else. And the something else was not about me. I held it for a month. I gave Vikram his month. And then the truth moved through the family the way truths move in its own time at its own cost, landing where it needed to land. She called me 3 weeks later and said I owe you an apology. I said I'd like to have a real relationship with you, if you're willing to try. She said she didn't know how yet. I said neither do I. That was enough. I am the real version now, in every room, not calibrated, not managed down, not accepting the implication that I am less than I am. And the person who has been the room where I was always the real version for 4 years since the 3-day shoot when he said we should have lunch sometime is here on a Tuesday afternoon going through prints and saying this is the one. She gave me the test to find my secrets. The test found hers. And I chose not to use it the way she intended. And the choosing that specific, deliberate choice is the thing I am most proud of. Not the result. The choice. If this story found something you needed, if someone has ever set a trap that turned on themselves like it, share it with someone who is still holding something they were handed without asking for it, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, has someone ever handed you a test they weren't ready to take themselves? And one last question. 3 months from now, Sunita comes to my apartment. Alone, first time she has ever come to my apartment in 30 years of being family. She brings nothing, no gift, no occasion, no reason except the reason. And she meets Aryan. And something happens in that meeting that neither I nor Aryan expected from her. Should I tell you what she did? Part 2 is coming, eyes. Subscribe, you will not want to miss it. The Revenge Chronicles.